What if the thing you believe helps you relax has never relaxed you? What if the thing you believe helps you cope with stress has actually been creating the part of that stress all along? What if the thing you believe you enjoy is not something you enjoy at all? And what if the greatest misunderstanding is not that you cannot stop, but that you believe there is something valuable to stop? Because that is the particular nature of many traps. Bars are not made of steel. They are made of beliefs, assumptions, illusions, stories repeated so many times that they begin to feel like truth. And perhaps the most powerful illusion of all is convincing someone that the one thing causing discomfort is also the thing providing relief. This is a story about that illusion and what happens when it finally dissolves. There was once a person who carried a small box. The box was always nearby, always available, always familiar. At first, it didn't seem like much. Just a little box, a harmless box, a comforting box, a useful box, or at least, that is what everyone said. That is what advertisements implied. That is what culture suggested. That is what other people believed. And eventually, that is what this person believed too. Over the years, the box became associated with everything. Morning, breaks, conversations, stress, celebrations, sadness, boredom, frustration, waiting, thinking, driving, relaxing, working. Almost every experience became linked somehow to the box. And because of that, the box began to seem important. Not because it truly was, but because it was present. Like a background actor mistaken for the hero of the story. One day, the person noticed something strange. A feeling of unease, a restlessness, a subtle discomfort. Nothing dramatic, just enough to notice. And immediately, a thought appeared. The box will help. The box always helps. The box brings relief. The box provides comfort. The box makes things better. And so, the box was open. The ritual performed. The familiar sensations arrived. And sure enough, the discomfort faded. Relief, calm, normality, or so it seemed. Yet a question emerged, a question so simple that had somehow never been asked before. Where did the discomfort come from? At first the answer seemed obvious. Life, stress, work, responsibilities, circumstances. The ordinary challenges of being human, yet the question refused to disappear. Where did the discomfort come from? That night, the person had a dream, a curious dream. A dream of a vast desert, endless sand stretching toward the horizon, and in the center of the desert stood a merchant. The merchant sold shoes, only shoes, nothing else. Travelers approached the merchant all day long. Each traveler paid generously, and each traveler left smiling. The person watched with confusion. The shoes looked terrible, painful, far too small. Surely no one wanted them, yet people kept buying them. Finally, one traveler sat down nearby. The traveler removed the shoes and immediately sighed with relief. A look of bliss spread across the traveler's face. The traveler smiled, closed their eyes, and whispered, "Wonderful." The person approached. "Why are you smiling?" The traveler answered, Because taking the shoes off feels incredible, the person laughed. Then why wear them? The traveler looked puzzled. Nobody had ever asked. The dream continued. Thousands of people wore shoes that hurt, then experienced relief when removing them briefly. Then put them back on, then removed them again, then put them back on. Day after day, year after year, convinced the relief was a belief. Never realizing the discomfort existed only because the shoes remained part of the cycle. The person awoke suddenly, heart racing, mind turning, because something about the dream felt familiar, very familiar. The next day, the familiar discomfort appeared again, a slight emptiness, a slight agitation, a slight sense that something was missing. And immediately came the familiar thought, the box will help. Yet this time the person paused and asked, will it? Or will it simply remove the discomfort temporarily? A discomfort that would return later. A discomfort that may not have existed at all if the cycle had never begun. The question lingered, and suddenly something became visible. Not physically, mentally, like seeing the hidden image inside a puzzle. The discomfort wasn't a need. It wasn't a desire. It wasn't a genuine pleasure being missed. It was merely the absence of a previous dose of relief. Nothing more, nothing less. For years, the person had believed the box provided benefits, relaxation, confidence, stress relief, comfort, companionship, pleasure. Yet upon examination, each belief began unraveling. Did the box actually improve a stressful situation? No. The stressful situation remained exactly the same. Did it solve problems? No. The problem remained. Did it create confidence? No. Many confident people had never needed it. Did it create calm? Or did it merely interrupt a discomfort it had helped create? One by one, the illusion fell, not through force, not through discipline, not through suffering, through understanding. And this is where many people become confused, because they imagine freedom requires enormous sacrifice. They imagine they must give up something, lose something valuable, endure deprivation, fight cravings forever, use endless willpower, white knuckle through life. But what if none of that were true? Imagine discovering there is no monster, only a shadow. Imagine discovering the chains were made of paper. Imagine discovering the prison door was never locked. Would escape require strength or simply understanding? Days passed and the person continued observing, not fighting, observing, watching the little voice appear, the voice that whispered, "You need this. You deserve this. Life won't be the same without this. How will you relax? How will you cope? How will you enjoy yourself?" And every time the person noticed something fascinating. The voice never offered evidence, only fear, only doubt, only old programming, only repetition. Meanwhile, a deeper voice began growing stronger, a quieter voice, a wiser voice, the voice of clarity, the voice that asked, "If this truly gave pleasure, why do I need it repeatedly? If this truly brought peace, why was peace always temporary? If this truly made me free, why did I feel trapped without it?" The answers became impossible to ignore. Eventually, a remarkable shift occurred. The person stopped seeing freedom as losing something and started seeing freedom as escaping something. A completely different experience, because nobody mourns leaving a cage once they recognize it was a cage. Nobody grieves removing tight shoes. Nobody feels deprived when a splinter is removed. Nobody feels cheated when a burden is lifted. And then, one morning, the realization arrived fully, not emotionally, not dramatically, simply clearly, like clouds parting. The box had never been a friend. It had never been a reward. It had never been a crutch. It had never been a comfort. It had simply occupied a space in life while claiming credit for experiences that already belonged to the person. The calm belonging to the person, the confidence belonging to the person, the strength belonging to the person, the ability to cope belonged to the person, the joy belonged to the person, the freedom belonged to the person. It always has. And perhaps that is the most important lesson of all, because according to the deepest wisdom behind freedom, the goal is not to become someone who resists temptation forever. The goal is to stop seeing temptation where none exists. The goal is not to spend life feeling deprived. The goal is to recognize there is nothing valuable being denied. The goal is not to battle a powerful enemy. The goal is to see that the enemy was always much smaller than it tended to be. A little illusion, a little misunderstanding, a little voice, a little trap. And as that understanding settles deeper, you may begin noticing something interesting. The feeling of freedom does not come after struggle. It comes after clarity. It comes after seeing the truth that there was never a genuine benefit to lose, only a cycle to escape, only a burden to set down, only an empty promise waiting to be recognized for what it always was. And once seen clearly, it becomes surprisingly easy to simply walk away. And now, as the story begins to settle, there is nothing you need to do, nothing you need to force, nothing you need to figure out, because sometimes understanding arrives not through effort, but through allowing. And so, for the next little while, simply allow yourself to become comfortable in whatever way feels right for you. Perhaps adjusting your position slightly, perhaps allowing your hands to rest comfortably, perhaps noticing the support beneath you. And as you settle, you may begin noticing something very interesting. You do not need to make relaxation happen. Your body already knows how, just as your heart knows how to beat, just as your lungs know how to breathe. There are countless things happening within you, without effort, without thought, without control, and relaxation may simply become one of them. Take a slow breath in and let it go. That's right. Nothing special, nothing complicated, just breathing. The way you've done thousands of times before. And as you breathe, you may begin noticing the gentle rise and fall of your chest, the subtle movement of air, the quiet rhythm of life moving through you. And with each breath, you may discover that your awareness naturally turns inward, not because you're trying, but because there is less and less reason to focus outward. For now, the outside world can continue exactly as it is, Sounds can come and go. Thoughts can come and go. Feelings can come and go. And everything simply becomes part of the experience, helping you drift deeper, helping you settle further, helping you become more comfortable. And perhaps you can imagine yourself standing at the edge of a beautiful path, a path leading somewhere peaceful, somewhere quiet, somewhere free, a path you do not need to walk quickly, a path that asks nothing of you, a path that simply invites you forward, one comfortable step at a time. And as you begin walking, you notice something curious. You are carrying a backpack. Not a heavy one, not overwhelmingly heavy, but one that has been with you for a very long time. So long that you may have forgotten it was there. And as you walk, you begin noticing that this backpack contains old beliefs, old assumptions, old stories. Stories about needing things. Stories about dependence. Stories about struggle. Stories about sacrifice. Stories that may have seemed true once, yet now you begin wondering whether they were ever true at all. And with every step, the backpack becomes lighter. Not because you're forcing it, not because you're throwing anything away, but because understanding naturally removes weight, the way sunlight naturally removes darkness. No battle required, no effort necessary, just seeing clearly and allowing. A few more steps forward, and now you're arriving at a clearing. A beautiful clearing surrounded by ancient trees. Soft sunlight filtering through leaves. Gentle air moving around you. A place of stillness. A place of wisdom. A place where truth becomes simple. In the center of that clearing sits a comfortable chair. And somehow, you know this chair was made especially for you. So you sit down, and as you do, you notice how supported you feel, how comfortable, how safe, how at ease. And now, imagine before you sits a small table, and resting on that table is a tiny box, the box from the story. Not threatening, not powerful, simply a box. And as you look at it, you begin seeing it differently. Not through old beliefs, not through old conditioning, not through fear, but through clarity. You see it exactly as it is, nothing more, nothing less. And perhaps for the first time, you notice something surprising. The box has no power of its own. Never did. It never contained calm. It never contained peace. It never contained confidence. It never contained freedom. Those things were always yours, always. And as that realization deepens, you may begin feeling something extraordinary. Not loss, not deprivation, relief. The relief that comes when a misunderstanding finally dissolves. The relief that comes when a burden is lifted. The The relief that comes when truth replaces confusion. Because there is a profound difference between giving something up and becoming free from it. One feels like sacrifice. The other feels like liberation. And your unconscious mind understands this distinction completely. Now imagine a gentle breeze moving through the clearing. A warm breeze. A cleansing breeze. And as it touches you, it begins carrying away old beliefs. The belief that something outside of you controls your peace, gone. The belief that something outside of you controls your comfort, gone. The belief that you need something external to feel complete, gone. The belief that freedom requires suffering, gone. Each belief drifting away like leaves carried on the wind, becoming smaller, more distant, less important, until they finally disappear entirely beyond the horizon. And in their place, something else begins growing, a quiet confidence, a natural confidence. The confidence that comes from knowing you are already enough. The confidence that comes from knowing you already possess everything necessary. The confidence that comes when recognizing your own strength, your own resilience, your own ability to cope, your own ability to relax, your own ability to feel peace. And perhaps now, you can imagine a light beginning to glow in the center of your chest. A warm golden glow of light, soft, comforting, steady. This light represents freedom, not future freedom, present freedom. The freedom that exists right now. The freedom that has always existed beneath every illusion. And with every breath, the light grows stronger, brighter, warmer, spreading through your chest, through your shoulders, down your arms, through your stomach, your hips, your legs, your feet, until every part of you becomes filled with this beautiful feeling of freedom. And as this feeling spreads, your unconscious mind can begin making important connections, connecting freedom with calm, connecting freedom with confidence, connecting freedom with health, connect freedom with vitality, connecting freedom with self-respect, connecting freedom with joy. Because freedom is not something you must earn. Freedom is your natural state. And now, imagine yourself 6 months from today, standing somewhere familiar, looking back at this moment, and noticing how different everything feels. Notice the ease, the lightness, the sense of pride, the sense of peace, the sense of certainty. Notice how natural freedom has become. Notice how ordinary it feels, how normal, how effortless. Because what once seemed important now seems irrelevant, like an old habit from another lifetime, a chapter that has ended already, a story that no longer needs repeating. And as that future version of you smiles, perhaps they share a message, a simple message, a truthful message, one your unconscious mind is ready to hear. The message is, You were never giving up anything. You were simply returning to yourself. Allow those words to settle deeply now. You were never giving anything up. You were simply returning to yourself. Again. You were never giving anything up. You were simply returning to yourself. And once more, allowing every part of your mind to absorb it completely. You were never giving anything up. You were simply returning to yourself. And now, for a few quiet moments, simply rest here, breathing, relaxing, absorbing, allowing every cell of your body, every part of your mind, every level of your unconscious awareness to integrate this new understanding. Freedom feels natural. Freedom feels peaceful. Freedom feels right. Because freedom is what you are. And the more you remember that truth, the stronger it becomes, the clearer it becomes, the more obvious it becomes. Until one day, you may wonder how you ever believed otherwise. And for now, simply rest in that knowing. Rest in that freedom. Rest in that peace. And allow it to grow.
Carried a little box through the years, held it close through the laughter and tears. Every morning, every lonely night, thought it gave me comfort, thought it made things right. When the pressure came and the world fell out, it was waiting there like a faithful crowd. But I never stopped to wonder why the same old ache kept coming by. Then a question found me in the dark, like a whisper, like a spark. What if the freedom was mine all along? What if the strength was there steady and strong? What if the peace I was searching to find was never inside that promise, but already inside my mind? I thought I was losing something when I let it go. Now I see it was the thing keeping me low. The cage disappeared when I opened my eyes and found the freedom was mine. Dreamed of travelers crossing the sand, paying a fortune for pain in their hands, wearing shoes that were far too small, calling the relief a miracle after all. Taking them all felt heaven sent, so they never questioned where the suffering went. Round and round in the same old game, different faces, but the story the same. Then the truth arrived so quietly, like dawn across the sea. What if the freedom was mine all along? What if the strength was there steady and strong? What if the calm I was begging to keep was never in the ritual, but already buried deep? I thought I was losing something when I let it go. Now I see it was the thing keeping me low. The cage disappeared when I opened my eyes and found the freedom was mine. No monster hiding in the night, no change stronger than the light, just an old illusion dressed as need, a shadow surviving because I believe. The voice kept saying you can't be free, but it never held authority. Fear was loud, but truth was clear, and suddenly there was nothing to fear. The freedom was mine all along, the courage was mine all along, the joy was mine all along. It never belonged to something gone. The calm was mine all along, the confidence was mine all along. The life I thought No sacrifice made, just a burden laid down, and an empty promise finally fading away, while the freedom that was always there remains.
So here are the key meanings of the story. Number 1, the real trap is the belief, not the habit. The story teaches that the strongest chains are psychological. The habit survives largely because of beliefs such as it relaxes me, it helps me cope, or I enjoy it. Allen Carr taught that once these beliefs are challenged, the trap begins to collapse. Number 2, relief is not the same as pleasure. One of the central ideas in Allen Carr's work is that people mistake relief from withdrawal for genuine pleasure. The story's small box appears to provide comfort, but is actually receiving a discomfort that the cycle itself is created. Number 3, the tight shoe metaphor. The dream about the painful small shoes represents one of Carr's most powerful teachings. If something creates discomfort and then temporarily removes it, that doesn't make it beneficial. It simply means it created the problem in the first place. Number 4, there is nothing valuable being sacrificed. Many people fear quitting because they believe they are losing a friend, a reward, a stress reliever, or a source of comfort. The story suggests that freedom comes when a person realizes there was never anything genuinely valuable to lose. Number 5, the little monster is smaller than it appears. Allen Carr often describes withdrawal as a little monster that survives through feeding on fear. The story shows how discomfort feels powerful only because it has been misunderstood. Once seen clearly, it becomes much less intimidating. Number 6, the habit takes credit for things that already belong to you. The story repeatedly points toward a profound realization. Calm, confidence, resilience, and peace were never contained in the box. They already existed within the person. The habit simply claimed ownership of qualities that were naturally theirs. Number 7, fear keeps the illusion alive. The voice saying, "How will you cope?" and "life won't be the same" represents fear-based thinking. Carr taught fear of stopping often causes more suffering than stopping itself. Number 8, freedom comes through understanding, not willpower. One of Allen Carr's most important teachings is that quitting should not feel like a lifelong battle. The story emphasizes that true freedom comes from seeing the truth clearly rather than endlessly fighting temptation through force. Number 9, the prison exists mostly in the mind. The box symbolizes a psychological prison built from conditioning, repetition, social programming, and habit. The story suggests that once the mental illusion dissolves, the physical behavior often becomes much easier to release. And number 10, you are returning to yourself. The final message of the story is perhaps the most important. Freedom is not becoming someone new. It is remembering who you were before the illusion began. The story teaches that calm, confidence, peace, and freedom you seek are not things you must acquire. They are things you already possess. And perhaps tonight, as you drift into the rest of your evening or into sleep, you may find yourself reflecting on a simple question. Not whether you are strong enough, not whether you have enough willpower, not whether you can resist, but whether there was ever truly anything valuable to hold on to in the first place. Because sometimes the greatest freedom does not come from fighting harder. It comes from seeing more clearly, seeing that the cage was never as strong as it appeared. seeing that the fear was never as powerful as it claimed, seeing that the comfort was often just a relief from a discomfort the cycle itself created, and seeing that the peace you were searching for was never inside the box. It was always inside you, waiting patiently, waiting quietly, waiting for you to remember. And if this story helped you see something more differently, helped you feel a little lighter, or helped you take one more step toward your own freedom, please take a moment to subscribe and join us again for another journey into the deeper workings of the mind. And if there is a challenge you're facing, a habit you're trying to understand, a fear you're trying to release, or a transformation you're ready to create, I also offer personalized hypnotic stories and custom inductions created especially for your unique situation. You can reach out to me at rhondashypnoticstories@gmail.com. Until next time, be gentle with yourself, be curious about your thoughts, trust your own wisdom, and remember, you are not giving up anything of value. You are simply reclaiming something that has always belonged to you, your freedom. Good night.